So, do we still need the microphone?
Yes.
All right. All right, I'd like to call to order the June 30th, 2023 special meeting of the Lebanon Board of Education. Looks like the time is 7:32. Everybody please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Irvin, roll call, please.
Mr. Lane?
Here.
Mrs. Dalton?
Here.
Mrs. Larson?
Here.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Here.
Item number 4 is adoption of the agenda. I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Karen?
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 5, approval of the minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on June 20th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments, concerns? I obviously was not here for that meeting, so I'm leaning on the rest of you to let me know if we're good.
All good.
All good? Mrs. Irvin?
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 6, Mrs. Irvin, am I okay combining all of these? Looks like it.
Mm-hmm.
So I need a motion to approve items A through B.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Just quickly to talk about what's happening here. We saw some of our grants that we didn't have it budgeted fully, like our auxiliary schools had to spend all of their money. This is the biennium, and so anything that came into us, they had to spend it at the end of this year or they would lose it. We had a couple of grants the same way. We didn't spend it or encumber it by June 30, we would lose it. So we went ahead and adjusted those appropriations and the revenues that we anticipate coming in. The state reimburses us after we spend that money. So we went ahead and did that as of June 30. That's why we're putting those on. This fund transfer is just we apply for Title I money. Sometimes they disperse that into Title II. We transfer that right back into Title I and use it for the same purpose. So that's what that is.
Any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 7 is personnel. I need a motion to approve items A through E.
So moved.
Second.
All right, just to run through these, letter A is one resignation. Letter B is a supplemental.
Yeah, so Keith Schilt is being recommended for our head baseball coach. Coach Schilt has been with the program for over 10 years as an assistant coach, a JV coach. And prior to that, he played college baseball at Louisville, a great baseball program. And so he has a high-level baseball knowledge, great relationships and rapport with our kids and fellow coaches. I think you saw the announcement that Keith put out about who the recommended person would be. You saw a lot of quotes from current coaches, former coaches, some parents, and people that were involved with the process that spoke very highly of him. I'm looking forward to it. I think he's done a great job with our kids and really demonstrated during the process that he'll be a great asset to us as a staff. So,
Thank you. C is a board resolution for employment of non-licensed coaches. D is a change of status. And E is the approval of a tutor. So, roll call, please.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 8, other business. Need a motion to approve the resolution of necessity for a renewal permanent improvement levy. We'll stop right there for now.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Karen?
And I have a presentation here for you. This is the resolution of necessity. We are asking the board to consider renewing our capital improvement levy this November on the ballot. So just a brief snapshot, as of early June of this year, our property taxes made up about 54% of total revenue. This is not just of general fund, this is everything that we get. It makes up about 54%. Specifically in our capital improvement fund, property tax is about 83%, and that was for this year. So we received about $1.4 million this year in our 003 permanent improvement fund from our levy. This takes a look, and you saw this a little bit last year. This is each of our levies that we've proposed and that we collect. We have some non-voted general fund money. We have some voted general fund money. This is specifically talking about the 2 mil levy that we have for permanent improvements. So originally, this levy was voted in 2018, and it expires this year. So it's a 5-year levy. We are asking to renew at the 2 mils as a 5-year levy. So just a straight renewal, no new money, same thing as it was originally passed as. Just to talk a little bit about the difference, I know we spent a lot of time last year explaining what a substitute is. This is a very different type of levy. This levy is required to be used for permanent improvements. So I put a little red blurb down there of what is a permanent improvement. You're looking at any property or asset having an estimated useful life of 5 years or more. So we're talking buildings, we're talking buses, we're talking parking lots, some of those big ticket items, roofs, that we need to maintain and update annually. That's what this money has to be used for. It can't be moved back into the general fund. It can only be used for those big ticket permanent improvements. So just a few rundown of a few quick facts. This is not new money. This is not new money. It is a renewal. So it is literally the same thing as we already have. It's just continuing that for an additional 5 years. It's a fixed rate, so it will stay at the 2 mils. And just a little bit of information on that. The residential mills is slightly different than the commercial mills, but they total up to be 2.0 mils. It's still a 5-year term. And originally, when this was first created as, quote, new money, this was created in 1993. So voters have been approving this for a long time. I looked back at some of the records that I have access to, and it looks like we've had some type of permanent improvement levy since 1974. And that's as far back as I could go. I'm sure there's something further than that, but voters have been pretty serious about making sure that we have money to make those permanent improvements, to keep our buildings, to keep our buses, keep our technology up to date with what we need to supply for our students' education.
And just to point out, it can't be used for salaries, it can't be used for, personnel costs or anything like that. And so this is how do we maintain our facilities, and how do we make sure that we maintain the property and the things that we have, so. The other part of that is as a fixed rate levy, it's actually generating, what 2 mils now generates is different than what 2 mils used to generate. So this is fixed rate, not fixed amount. And so, the value of a mill now compared to the value of a mill when this started in 1993 is different. And so that, that does impact a little bit how much is collected, but, the value of a mill dictates that, not a certain dollar amount. Like where we had the emergency levy, it was $5 million, right? We were collecting a certain amount of money. This is collecting a certain amount of mills, so.
And just to reiterate, this is not related to the substitute levy.
Correct.
This is different
Completely
funding
different.
altogether, different purposes.
It's also not related to, is not being utilized to pay for the roof repairs at the high school, the parking lot, bleachers, turf. This is not in connection with anything to do with athletic facilities in terms of the legacy project that's happening. this is paying for, and I think you may get to it. I don't want to
Yeah.
steal your thunder. So this is paying for things like the bus replacement plan that you approved. We'll just go there.
Yep.
So.
So that's this slide. We just wanted to highlight what we've been doing since Mr. Severs and I got here. We've spent a lot of time kind of looking at what are the projects that we're doing. And so just kind of highlighting the big tickets here. We purchased 20 new buses in 2021, which we hoped will save a tremendous amount of money as we talk about maintenance, replacements of engines, replacements of floors. We were doing a lot. And our team was doing great work maintaining those buses, but we're hoping that will reduce that cost. And because interest rates have risen, I had to put our interest rate here because it was such a great rate. 1.75% interest, unheard of. It was awesome. It makes me excited.
The one thing I want to point out, because you talked about this last month or earlier this month, when you went through the budgeting process with all the departments, we were budgeting a significant amount of money in transportation for those repairs and for that. As we looked at the past year, having new buses, we did not spend anywhere near that amount of money on repairs. So next year's transportation budget will drastically be different because we won't have the money that we're spending on repairs of buses.
And we were able to get $160,000 through the state for grant funding in doing that as well. So that was super beneficial. In that bottom area, that also talks about some other grants that we've leveraged. We've talked a lot about the safety grants that our business manager has been able to be awarded through the state. We're looking at upwards of $450,000, and it's growing as they continue to apply for those. So a great way to fund some of those security features, the cameras, those things that normally would come out of this pocket of money, we're able to use some grant money for. And then the third, and I think one of the most important things we've done, is build that 10-year capital plan. It really takes a look at, over the next 5 years when we're using this PI money, what are we intending to use it for? We have that in writing. Now, we know those things will change. We can't predict in 5 years what's actually going to happen, but we have a plan that's not going to hopefully bring us any big surprises. So I think that's been really important in how we think about our budget and how we use that money. We've done a really good job over the last 5 years of really tailoring that money to our biggest needs. We've done a great job. So this is just trying to add to that and give a little pre-planning in addition to let's spend it wisely, but also let's have a plan for what we're going to need. And this just takes a look. I tried to group them together because you see the list is long, but this is just over the next fiscal year. So this coming school year, the repairs and the replacements, purchases that we hope to use our levy money for. So you've got HVAC repairs. We have a lot of buildings, a lot of HVAC needs. Asphalt, concrete flooring. We've got some door repairs, painting, technology, our bus lease, vehicles, textbooks, curricular equipment, musical instruments and rotation, steamers for the cafeteria, and then we have athletic repairs maintenance. We always annually look at our tennis courts. Are those appropriate for our kids? The bleachers, we've got fields, gym floor, all of those things are built into that 10-year capital plan. I will also add that 10-year capital plan includes more than just this levy. So it does include the levy, but it also includes our classroom facilities levy, which is specifically once the OFCC gives you money to build your facilities, you have to maintain it. So we passed a levy to maintain that. That 10-year capital plan includes that. It also includes the money that we've designated for the roof, for the bleachers, that we are using from economic development incentives that we're receiving. So the 10-year plan is inclusive of all capital projects, including these. So just be aware that that's here. And we also
$1.4
have-
million won't cut it on the list of items that we have to do.
That's very true.
It's not all being paid for by this levy.
Yeah, and then hurdle replacements there as well. And that's all I have. Any questions?
I do have a question. So last March, I think it was March, we approved the purchase of those new buses. And the point was that we would save a tremendous amount of money on maintenance. And we have. Is there any way by the next board meeting, we could actually show how much was saved?
I can take a look. I'll have actuals by then, so I'll have the year closed. I'll take a look.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can, I'll see if I can get that.
I think the voters and the public would appreciate knowing that what we said to them in March of last year is actually true, that we saved this much money on maintenance, because maintaining a bus is expensive.
Yeah, let me get back to you on that.
So Roy, you mean in comparison with previous years?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so what did we
okay.
spend this year maintaining buses compared to 2 years ago? When we had that meeting, I was doing the math, while the guy was talking, and I can't remember, it's like, the maintenance cost, if you didn't have it, you're almost buying a new bus every 3 years is the math
Right.
I did, I'm trying to
Right.
remember. But I think people would appreciate knowing when we make a decision, then we just move on, but we never talk about, okay, this is,
Yeah.
we're not proving that we did what we said we were going to do.
Perfect. Yep, I will get that.
I have a question about the 2 mil levy. Is that capped, or as there is growth within the tax base, does that increase, or is it capped at like 1.4?
It is 2 mills, so as growth happens, we still get 2 mills, but it does grow. So at the beginning of this, we were getting about 1.2 million. So at the beginning of the 5-year period, as growth happened, we continued to get that, and we now get about 1.4. So it's slow growth, but it
Oh,
is
okay.
growth.
And that every new house built and
Adds on
Helps
to it?
help.
Okay.
The other part of that is, so like when the reappraisals happen, and that changes the tax base, but then that also changes the value of the mill, right? Because it's based off of our total valuation in the district. So based off of our total valuation, all the properties added up is our total valuation. They calculate the mills based off of that. So as values grow everywhere, the value of a mill grows. It's 0.1% of the value of, the assessed value of a home. So,
So it does account for some growth?
yes,
There's
there
some
will be
benefit.
some growth. There also is, if housing values plummet,
Okay.
right, you lose money in that value. So it's the same reason that, as reappraisals happen, certain types of levies will grow. This is one of them.
Okay,
Because it's fixed rate, not fixed amount.
okay.
And right now, our commercial is about 1.43 of that. Our residential is about 0.99. There's a lot of extra digits in the back end of that, but that's about where we're at.
Got it. Thanks.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes?
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And item number 9, need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Motion carried.